The tray of champagne shattered against the galley floor. Helen Crane, chief purser of Skyline Airlines Flight 118, grabbed the black man's worn hoodie and yanked him backward. "I said get out of first class, now, before I have you arrested." The 6-year-old girl in his arms started screaming. 15 passengers watched. Nobody moved. Nobody helped. What Helen didn't know, what nobody on that plane knew, was that the tired-looking man she'd just assaulted had signed the papers to buy the entire airline 72 hours ago. In exactly 3 minutes, Helen Crane wouldn't just lose her job. She would lose everything. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels. The automatic doors of JFK's Terminal 5 slid open, letting in a gust of cold December air and a man who looked like he hadn't slept in 3 days. Marcus Thompson shifted his daughter higher on his shoulder. Lily was 6 years old, 42 pounds, and completely unconscious. Her small arms hung limp around his neck. Her face was pressed into the worn fabric of his college hoodie, a faded gray thing from Howard University that he'd owned for 15 years. He looked like a man at the end of his rope, and maybe he was. "Come on, baby girl," he whispered, adjusting her weight. "Almost there." The terminal was chaos. Holiday travelers everywhere. Families arguing over luggage. Business people barking into phones. A sea of noise and movement that made Marcus's head pound. He hadn't slept in 46 hours. The acquisition had nearly killed him. 3 days of lawyers, accountants, and board members in a conference room in Geneva. 3 days of fighting for control of an airline that didn't even know he existed yet. The deal closed at 2 a.m. Swiss time. The press release was scheduled for tomorrow morning. Tonight, Marcus Thompson was just a tired single father trying to get his daughter home for Christmas. Nobody knew, and that was exactly how he wanted it. He spotted the check-in counters ahead. First class on the left, economy snaking toward the back of the terminal like a wounded snake. The first class line was empty. A red carpet. Brass stanchions. A promise of quick, painless service. Marcus walked toward it. "Excuse me." The voice was sharp. Annoyed. Marcus stopped. A man in a blue Skyline Airlines vest stepped into his path. Young guy, maybe 25, with a clipboard and a superiority complex written all over his face. His name tag said Derek. Derek wasn't looking at Marcus's face. He was looking at the hoodie. The worn jeans. The scuffed sneakers. "Economy lines back there," Derek said, jerking his thumb over his shoulder. "This is first class. Priority customers only." Marcus took a breath. "I know. I'm on the London flight. Seats 1A and 1B. Derek laughed. It was an ugly sound. 1A and 1B. Sure you are. He looked Marcus up and down, making a show of it. "Look, buddy, I don't know what you're trying to pull, but upgrades don't work like that. You can't just walk into the fancy line and hope for a miracle." "I'm not hoping for anything. I have tickets." "Right." Derek crossed his arms. "Let me guess. Miles points. Some credit card promotion you don't actually qualify for." Lily stirred on Marcus's shoulder. She made a small sound, the beginning of waking up. "I need to get my daughter on the plane," Marcus said quietly. "She's exhausted. I'm exhausted. Can you just scan the tickets?" "I can't let you hold up the line for actual priority guests." Derek gestured behind Marcus. "Move. Now." "There's no line behind me." "There will be." Marcus felt the familiar heat on the back of his neck. The burning sensation he'd learned to recognize over 40 years of being black in America. The feeling that came when someone decided, based on nothing but the color of his skin and the clothes on his back, that he didn't belong. He'd felt it in college. He'd felt it in boardrooms. He'd felt it when he'd sold his first company for $800 million, and the buyer's lawyers had asked to see his ID 3 times. He felt it now. "Scan the tickets," Marcus said again. His voice was calm, level. The voice he used in negotiations when he was about to destroy someone. Derek heard something in that tone. For a split second, doubt flickered across his face. Then arrogance won. "I'm calling security," Derek said, pulling out his radio. "We've got a situation at the first-class counter. Possible fraud. Aggressive male mid-30s refusing to comply with—" "Derek!" A woman's voice cut through the noise. Derek turned. A supervisor had appeared, older black woman with tired eyes and a name tag that said Patricia. She looked at Marcus. She looked at the sleeping child on his shoulder. She looked at the boarding pass on his phone screen. "Give me that," she said to Derek, taking his scanner. She aimed it at Marcus's phone. Beep. The light flashed green. Patricia looked at the screen. Her eyebrows rose. "Thompson Marcus. Seats 1A and 1B. Status?" She paused. "Invitation only." Derek's face changed. "That's impossible. The system's glitching." "The system's fine." Patricia handed the scanner back. She looked at Marcus with something like respect. Maybe recognition. "Sir, I apologize for the delay. Please proceed to the lounge. Your flight boards in 90 minutes. Marcus nodded. He didn't say anything to Derek. He just walked past him toward the security checkpoint. But as he passed, Derek muttered something. Marcus heard it. Every word. "Probably stole those tickets. Or he's somebody's drug dealer. They always find a way in." Marcus kept walking. Lily shifted on his shoulder, mumbling something in her sleep. He pulled out his phone, typed a quick message to the group chat with his board of directors. "Employee Derek at JFK check-in. Badge number visible in security footage. Profiling based on race and appearance. Recommendation termination." He hit send, one down. Todd. The first-class lounge was quiet. Leather chairs. Soft jazz. The smell of fresh coffee and something expensive being cooked in the back. Marcus found a corner booth and gently lowered Lily onto the seat beside him. She curled up immediately, still asleep, her thumb finding its way to her mouth like it did when she was stressed. She'd been through too much in her 6 years. Her mother had died when she was 3. Aggressive cancer. Nothing the doctors could do. Marcus had held his wife's hand at the end, had promised her he would protect their daughter no matter what. 3 years of doing it alone. 3 years of business trips and red-eye flights and nannies who never stayed long enough. 3 years of trying to be both parents, both provider and nurturer, and feeling like he was failing at both. This trip was supposed to be different. London for Christmas. Just the two of them. A week at a fancy hotel with a view of Big Ben. Ice skating. Hot chocolate. Father-daughter time that didn't involve laptops or conference calls. And then the Skyline acquisition had landed in his lap. The airline was hemorrhaging money. Service complaints through the roof. Discrimination lawsuits piling up. The previous owners wanted out. They'd approached Marcus's holding company with a number that was almost too good to be true. Marcus had said no initially. He didn't know anything about airlines. Then his lawyers had shown him the complaints. Black passengers denied upgrades. Hispanic families randomly selected for additional screening. Muslim travelers harassed by crew members. The pattern was clear. The culture was rotten. Marcus had changed his mind. He'd bought the airline not to make money. He'd bought it to clean house. Tonight's flight was a test. An undercover operation. The board wanted data before the public announcement. They wanted to know exactly how bad things were. Marcus had volunteered to be the test subject. What better way to see the truth, he'd told them, than to walk in as a black man in a hoodie with a child. They'd tried to talk him out of it. Too risky, too personal. What if something went wrong? Marcus had smiled. Then we'll know exactly what kind of company we just bought. Now sitting in the lounge with his sleeping daughter beside him, he pulled out his laptop. Secure terminal. Encrypted connection. He logged into the internal Skyline HR portal. He had administrator access now. Every file, every record, every complaint that had ever been buried. He navigated to the crew manifest for Flight 118. Chief Purser Helen Crane. He clicked on her file. 18 years with the airline. Started as a junior attendant, worked her way up. Multiple commendations for maintaining cabin standards. Performance reviews that praised her attention to detail, and commitment to premium service. Marcus scrolled down. Complaints, 47. 47 complaints in 18 years. Most from economy passengers, a handful from business class. Words like condescending and dismissive and rude appeared over and over. 3 complaints specifically mentioned race. All 3 had been dismissed. Insufficient evidence. Passenger failed to follow up. Matter closed. Marcus kept reading. 1 complaint stood out. Filed 2 years ago by a black woman who'd been seated in first class. The purser accused me of using a stolen ticket. She demanded to see my credit card and ID in front of other passengers. When I produced valid documentation, she said the system must be wrong. She then instructed the other flight attendants to monitor me throughout the flight and not serve me alcohol because I might become disruptive. I have never been so humiliated in my life. Resolution complaint noted. No action taken. Passenger offered 10,000 miles as goodwill gesture. Marcus closed the laptop. He looked at Lily, still sleeping peacefully. "Don't worry, baby girl," he whispered. "Daddy's going to fix this." The announcement came over the speakers. Skyline Airlines Flight 118 to London Heathrow is now boarding. We invite our first-class passengers to proceed to Gate B7. Marcus stood up. He gathered Lily in his arms, careful not to wake her. She was getting too big to carry like this, but tonight he didn't care. Tonight he needed her close. He walked toward the gate. He had no idea what was coming. The jet bridge was cold, that artificial cold that airports always had, mixed with the smell of fuel and recycled air. Marcus walked slowly, letting Lily sleep. Ahead of him he could see other first-class passengers boarding. A couple in matching designer outfits. An older man in a suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. At the aircraft door, 2 flight attendants waited. The first was young, blonde, nervous-looking. Her name tag said Emma. The second was the purser, Helen Crane. Marcus recognized her from the personnel photo, but the photo hadn't captured the coldness in her eyes. The way her smile seemed painted on rather than felt. The way she looked at passengers not as people to serve, but as problems to manage. She was helping the man in the expensive suit with his jacket. "Mr. Wells, so wonderful to see you again. Your usual seat 2A. I've already set aside the Bordeaux you prefer." "Helen, you're a lifesaver." The man Wells apparently handed over his jacket like she was his personal servant. "Keep the wine coming. It's been a week." "Of course, sir. Anything for our platinum members." Marcus stepped forward. Helen's smile vanished. It didn't fade. It disappeared, like someone had flipped a switch. She looked at Marcus, at the hoodie, at the sleeping child on his shoulder, at his face. "Boarding pass," she said. "No welcome, no hello, just a demand." Marcus held up his phone, the QR code displayed. Helen didn't scan it. She just looked at it, then back at him. "This is a first-class boarding pass." "Yes." "For 2 seats." "Yes. 1A and 1B. For me and my daughter." Helen's lips pressed into a thin line. "There must be a mistake. Our upgrade list didn't clear anyone today. The cabin is full." "I didn't upgrade. I purchased these seats." "That's unlikely." "Why is that unlikely?" Helen's eyes flicked to his hoodie again. "Sir, I'm going to need to see some identification. And the credit card used to purchase these tickets." Marcus felt Lily stir on his shoulder. "Is that standard procedure?" "You didn't ask Mr. Wells for his credit card." "Mr. Wells is a known passenger." Helen's voice dropped, becoming conspiratorial. Nasty. "We have to be careful these days. Fraud is rampant. Stolen miles. Hacked accounts. You understand?" "I understand you're profiling me. I'm following security protocol." "You're following prejudice?" Helen's face hardened. "Sir, if you don't produce identification immediately, I will call the captain and have you removed from this aircraft." Lily woke up. She lifted her head from Marcus's shoulder, blinking in the artificial light. Her small face was confused, scared. "Daddy, what's happening?" "Nothing, baby. Go back to sleep." "The lady sounds angry." Helen looked at the child. Her expression didn't soften. If anything, it got worse. "Sir, I need you to produce identification now. You're holding up the boarding process." Marcus reached into his pocket. He could have pulled out his black card. He could have pulled out his corporate ID. He could have ended this in 5 seconds. Instead, he pulled out his passport. He held it open. Helen snatched it. She studied the photo, then his face like she was looking for discrepancies. She flipped through the pages, seeing stamps from Tokyo, Singapore, Dubai, Zurich. Each stamp seemed to annoy her more. "Fine," she said, finally shoving the passport back at him. "Seats 1A and 1B. Try not to disturb the other passengers. Some of them are here to rest." Marcus took his passport. "Thank you for your hospitality." The sarcasm wasn't lost on Helen. Her eyes narrowed. Marcus walked into the cabin. First class was beautiful. 8 private suites with sliding doors. Walnut wood and cream leather. The kind of luxury that cost $12,000 a ticket. Marcus found 1A and 1B. He gently lowered Lily into 1B, buckling her seatbelt while she rubbed her eyes. "Daddy, I'm hungry." "I know, baby. They'll bring food soon." "Promise." "Promise." He kissed her forehead and settled into 1A. From across the aisle, someone was watching. Richard Wells, the man in the expensive suit. He was staring at Marcus with unconcealed disgust. "Unbelievable," Wells muttered loud enough to be heard. "Standards have really dropped." Marcus didn't respond. He just buckled his seatbelt and waited. Emma, the young flight attendant, appeared with a tray of drinks. Champagne in crystal glasses. She looked nervous. "Sir, would you like some—" "Emma?" Helen's voice cracked like a whip from the galley. Emma froze. The champagne glasses trembled on her tray. "Come here. Now." Emma looked at Marcus. Her eyes were apologetic, afraid. She hurried back to the galley. Marcus could hear them. The acoustics of the plane carried every word. "What do you think you're doing?" Helen hissed. "Serving the pre-flight drinks, like the manual says. Don't waste the good champagne on them. He probably used stolen points to get those seats. Give them water, or juice. Save the vintage for the real passengers." "But Helen, they're in first class. Do as I say. I run this cabin. If you want to keep your job, you'll stop questioning me." Silence. Then Emma reappeared. She was carrying a plastic cup of orange juice. Plastic. In a cabin where everyone else had crystal. "Here you go, sir," Emma whispered. She couldn't meet his eyes. We're out of champagne at the moment." It was a lie. Marcus could see the open bottle of Dom Perignon sitting on the galley counter. "Thank you," he said quietly. He took the plastic cup. "Daddy." "Why do we have the different cup?" Lily asked. "It's okay, baby. Different cups taste the same." Wells across the aisle smirked into his crystal glass. "Having a dry flight?" he asked. "Something like that," Marcus replied. He pulled out his phone, opened the secure messaging app. To Board of Directors from M. Thompson Flight 118. Service discrimination in progress. Crew actively hostile. Documenting everything. Recommend full personnel review of this route. He hit send. Then he put the phone down and looked at his daughter. She was staring at the galley where Helen was laughing at something with Wells. "Daddy," Lily said softly. "Why is the lady being mean to us?" Marcus felt his heart crack. "Some people," he said carefully, "judge others by what they see on the outside. They look at clothes or skin, and they make decisions about who people are without knowing anything about them. That's not fair." "No, baby, it's not." "Are you sad?" Marcus looked at his daughter. 6 years old, already learning the hardest lessons. "No," he said. "I'm not sad. I'm determined." "What's determined mean?" "It means I'm going to fix it." The plane began to push back from the gate. The engines hummed to life. and Marcus Thompson, owner of the very airline that was treating him like garbage, settled into his seat and waited for what he knew was coming. The worst was still ahead. The plane climbed through the clouds, leaving New York behind. 30,000 feet below, the city lights flickered like dying stars. Inside the cabin, the real darkness was just beginning. Marcus watched Helen move through first class like she owned it. She laughed with the passengers in row 2. She personally fluffed the pillow for the woman in 3A. She checked on Richard Wells 3 times in the first 20 minutes, refilling his wine glass before it was ever empty. She never looked at seats 1A and 1B, not once. Lily tugged on Marcus's sleeve. "Daddy, when is dinner coming?" "Soon, baby." "My tummy hurts." "I know. Just a little longer." Marcus pressed the call button. The soft chime echoed through the cabin. Nothing happened. He pressed it again. Still nothing. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 15. Helen walked past his row carrying a tray of warm towels. She distributed them to every passenger. Wells got 2. The couple in 3C got their towels presented on a silver plate. She walked past Marcus and Lily without slowing down. "Excuse me," Marcus said. Helen kept walking. "Excuse me." She stopped, turned slowly. Her face was a mask of strained patience. "Yes. I pressed the call button 15 minutes ago. I'm sorry I didn't hear it. The system must be malfunctioning." "It's not malfunctioning. The light is still on." Marcus pointed to the illuminated button above his seat. Helen glanced at it, shrugged. "Sometimes they stick. I'll have maintenance look at it when we land. Is there something you needed?" "My daughter is hungry. We'd like to order dinner." "Dinner service hasn't started yet." "You just brought Mr. Wells his second appetizer." Helen's smile tightened. "Mr. Wells is a platinum member. He has a custom service arrangement. I'm sure you understand. What I understand is that my daughter hasn't eaten in 6 hours, and you're refusing to serve us." "I'm not refusing anything. I'm following the service schedule. Dinner for the main cabin begins in 45 minutes. "We're not in the main cabin. We're in first class." Helen leaned closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Sir, I don't know how you got these seats. I don't know who you know or what system you exploited. But I've been doing this job for 18 years, and I know who belongs in this cabin and who doesn't. So I suggest you sit quietly, stop pressing that button, and wait your turn like everyone else." She straightened up, smiled her fake smile. "Can I get you some water while you wait?" "We have lovely tap water from the galley." Marcus felt his jaw clench. "I'll wait for the champagne." "I'm afraid we're out." "There are 3 bottles on the counter behind you. Those are reserved." "For whom?" "For passengers on the service list." "I'm on the service list. 1A. Check your tablet." Helen didn't check anything. "The system must not have updated properly. These things happen. I'll bring you water." She walked away before he could respond. Lily was watching with wide eyes. "Daddy, why won't she give us food?" Marcus took a breath, forced his voice to stay calm. "She's busy, baby. That's all." "She doesn't look busy. She's laughing with that man." Marcus looked. Helen was indeed laughing with Wells, touching his shoulder like they were old friends. "Some people," Marcus said carefully, "take longer to help others." "But why?" "Because we're black. Because I'm wearing a hoodie. Because your father looks like someone who cleans planes instead of owns them." He didn't say any of that. "I don't know, baby, but I promise you'll eat soon." "You said that already." "I know, and I meant it." Lily's lower lip trembled. She was tired, hungry, confused. She didn't understand why the nice plane with the big seats was making her feel so small. Marcus pulled out his phone. He opened the camera, started recording. "What are you doing, Daddy?" "Taking notes." "On your phone?" "Something like that." He recorded for 30 seconds, caught Helen laughing with Wells, Caught Emma hovering near the galley looking terrified. Caught the empty tray tables in 1A and 1B while everyone else had food and drinks. Then he saved the video and put the phone away. 20 more minutes passed. Finally, Helen returned with her tablet. She stopped at row 2 first. Mr. Wells, for dinner this evening, we have the pan-seared Chilean sea bass with a saffron beurre blanc, or the filet mignon prepared to your preference. We also have a lovely duck confit, if you're feeling adventurous. Filet medium rare, and keep the Bordeaux coming. Of course, sir. Excellent choice. She moved to 3A, then 3B, then 4A, taking orders with a smile, offering wine pairings, making recommendations. Then she approached 1A. Her smile disappeared. Yes. I'd like to order dinner, Marcus said. For both of us. Helen sighed, made a show of looking at her tablet. I'm afraid we have a problem. What problem? The catering manifest shows that 1A and 1B were added at the last minute. Our meals are prepared 24 hours in advance. We simply don't have enough premium options. What do you have? I can check if there are any economy meals left. Chicken or pasta usually, but you'd have to wait until the main cabin is served. So everyone in first class gets sea bass and filet mignon, and my 6-year-old daughter gets leftover economy pasta. I'm sorry, that's just how the catering works. That's not how it works, and you know it. Regulation 14B of the Skyline Service Manual states that every transatlantic first-class flight carries 2 additional premium meals for crew or emergency use. I'd like one of those. Helen's eye twitched. How do you know about Regulation 14B? Does it matter? Do you have the meals or not? Those meals are for crew. We work 12-hour shifts. We need to eat too. So, you're telling me you're going to eat filet mignon in the galley while my daughter goes hungry? Helen's voice hardened. I'm telling you that I prioritize my crew's well-being over passengers who probably shouldn't be here in the first place. Lily started crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears rolling down her cheeks, her small body shaking with the effort of trying to hold them in. Daddy, I'm so hungry. Marcus felt something break inside him. 18 years of building companies. Billions of dollars in the bank. The power to buy and sell entire corporations, and he couldn't get his daughter a meal on his own airplane. It's okay, baby. He pulled Lily onto his lap, holding her close. It's okay. Daddy's here. Helen watched without sympathy. I'll see what I can find, but no promises. She walked away. She didn't come back for another hour. When she finally returned, she was carrying a small plate. On it were 3 crackers and a tiny cup of hummus, the kind of snack you'd find in a vending machine. Best I could do, Helen said. She placed the plate on Lily's tray table with a thunk. Enjoy. Then she was gone. Lily looked at the crackers, then at her father. This is dinner. For now, baby, eat something. It'll help your tummy. Lily picked up a cracker, took a small bite. Her face crumpled. It tastes like cardboard. Across the aisle, Richard Wells was cutting into a thick, perfectly cooked filet mignon. The smell drifted over. Butter and herbs and expensive meat. He caught Marcus looking, smiled. The steak is exceptional tonight, Wells said. Helen really knows how to take care of her regulars. A shame about the catering issues on your end. Must be frustrating. Marcus said nothing. You know, Wells continued, lowering his voice to a stage whisper. Between you and me, I'm surprised they let you on the plane at all. Not that I'm judging. Diversity is important these days. Very important. Even if it means well. He gestured vaguely at Marcus's hoodie. Lowering certain standards. Is there a point to this? No point. Just making conversation. Trying to be friendly. Some of us know how to behave in first class. Some of us also know when to stop talking. Wells's face reddened. Excuse me? You heard me? Listen here. No, you listen. Marcus's voice was quiet but sharp as a blade. I don't know you. I don't want to know you. What I know is that you've spent the last hour smirking at my daughter while she cries from hunger. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to turn around in your seat. You're going to eat your steak. And you're going to leave us alone. Can you do that? Wells sputtered. Do you know who I am? I'm a senior partner at... I don't care. I spend $200,000 a year with this airline. Good for you. I could have you thrown off this plane. No, you couldn't. Something in Marcus's voice made Wells pause. For just a second, doubt flickered in his eyes. Then arrogance took over again. We'll see about that, Wells muttered. He turned to face forward, but his neck was red with anger. Marcus looked down at Lily. She had stopped eating. The crackers sat abandoned on the plate. Daddy, that man is mean. Yes, baby, he is. Why? Some people have forgotten how to be kind. Is he going to get us in trouble? Marcus hugged her tighter. No one is getting us in trouble, I promise. He wished he felt as confident as he sounded. 30 minutes later, Lily needed the bathroom. Marcus unbuckled her seatbelt and took her hand, leading her toward the lavatory at the front of the cabin. I'll wait right here, he said, opening the door for her. Call me if you need anything. Okay, Daddy. She went inside. The door locked. Marcus stood in the small alcove between the galley and the bathroom, stretching his legs. It felt good to stand after hours in the seat. He closed his eyes for just a moment. What are you doing? He opened his eyes. Helen was there, arms crossed, blocking the aisle. Waiting for my daughter. You can't loiter here. This area is for crew only. I'm standing 3 feet from my seat. You're making the other passengers uncomfortable. By standing. By wandering around. People are trying to rest. They don't need you hovering. Marcus took a breath. My daughter is in the bathroom. I'm waiting for her. That's all. Helen's eyes narrowed. How long has she been in there? 2 minutes. Passengers aren't supposed to occupy the lavatory for extended periods. She's 6. She takes a little longer. I hope she's not making a mess in there. Those lavatories are for premium passengers. She's a premium passenger. Seat 1B. Remember? Helen stepped closer. Her voice dropped. I don't know what you're trying to prove, but it won't work. I've been doing this job longer than you've probably been alive. I know every trick. I know every scam. And I know that people like you don't belong in this cabin. People like me. You know exactly what I mean. Say it. Say what? Say what you mean. Stop hiding behind policy and procedure and service schedules. Say what you actually think. Helen's face twisted. For a moment, the mask slipped. Marcus saw the ugliness beneath, but she caught herself, smoothed her expression, smiled that terrible smile. I think, she said carefully, that the system made an error, and I think that error will be corrected. The bathroom door opened. Lily stepped out, still adjusting her pants. Daddy, I couldn't reach the sink. The water was too high. Marcus knelt down, helping her straighten her clothes. That's okay, baby. We'll use hand sanitizer. He looked up at Helen. We're done here. He led Lily back to their seats. But as they sat down, he noticed something. His carry-on bag, which he'd stowed in the overhead bin, was open. The contents had been disturbed. His laptop was in a different position. His charger was wrapped differently than he'd left it. Someone had gone through his things. Marcus looked toward the galley. Helen was watching him. She didn't look away. Didn't even try to pretend. Lose something? She asked. Marcus didn't answer. He closed the overhead bin and sat down. His phone buzzed. A message from the board. Everything okay? We're monitoring your tracker. You've been stationary for 2 hours. He typed back. Situation escalating. Don't intervene yet. I need to see how far this goes. Another message. Are you sure we can have the captain divert? Not yet. I need more evidence. Be careful. He put the phone away. Lily had curled up in her seat, finally surrendering to exhaustion. Her eyes were closed, but her face was troubled even in sleep. Marcus pulled the thin airline blanket over her and kissed her forehead. "I'm sorry, baby," he whispered. "This isn't how tonight was supposed to go." The plane shuddered slightly. Turbulence. The seatbelt sign flickered on, and then Richard Wells stood up. He was holding his Rolex. Or rather, he was pretending to hold it. His hand was at his wrist, fingers rubbing the spot where the watch should have been. "Where is it?" Wells said, his voice rising. "Where the hell is it?" Helen rushed over. "Mr. Wells, what's wrong?" "My watch, my Patek Philippe. It's gone." "Gone? Are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure. I took it off when we took off. Put it right here." He pointed at the small table between his seat and the aisle. "It was right there, and now it's gone." Helen's head turned. Slowly, deliberately, she looked directly at Marcus. "Sir," she said, walking toward his row, "I'm going to need you to stand up." Marcus felt the world slow down. "Excuse me. Mr. Wells is missing a valuable item. You are the only passenger who has been moving around the cabin. I was waiting for my daughter to use the bathroom, which put you in proximity to Mr. Wells's seat. Are you accusing me of stealing his watch? I'm asking you to cooperate with a cabin security inquiry." Lily woke up. She looked around confused, frightened by the tension in the air. "Daddy, what's happening?" "Nothing, baby. Go back to sleep." "You need to stand up," Helen repeated. "Now." "I'm not going anywhere." "Then I'll call the captain. We have protocols for uncooperative passengers." Wells was on his feet now, pointing at Marcus. "I saw him looking at it earlier. I saw him eyeing my watch. He was jealous. These people always are." "These people?" Marcus's voice was dangerously quiet. "You know what I mean? Don't play innocent. I'm going to give you one chance to take that back. Or what? You'll sue me." Wells laughed. "With what money? The kind you stole?" Helen stepped closer. "Sir, I need you to empty your pockets, and I need to inspect your carry-on bag." "You already searched my bag. I saw you." Helen's face flickered. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The overhead bin. While I was at the bathroom. You went through my things." "That's a serious accusation." "It's the truth. Empty your pockets, or I'm calling the captain and having you restrained." Lily was crying now, not quietly, loudly. The fear and confusion of the past few hours finally breaking through. "Daddy, I'm scared. Daddy! Why is everyone yelling?" Marcus looked at his daughter, looked at Helen's cold, triumphant face, looked at Wells's reddened, righteous anger. He thought about his wife. What she would say if she could see this, what she would want him to do. He thought about the 18 years Helen Crane had spent treating people like this. The 47 complaints that no one had acted on. The black woman 2 years ago who had been humiliated in this same cabin and offered 10,000 miles as a consolation prize. He thought about Derek at the check-in counter. The sneer, the assumption, the casual cruelty. He thought about every boardroom where he'd been underestimated. Every meeting where he'd been the only black face at the table. Every time someone had looked at his clothes instead of his credentials and decided he didn't belong. 40 years of this. 40 years of swallowing it. He reached for his phone. "What are you doing?" Helen demanded. "Put that away. Using electronics during a security situation is a federal offense." Marcus didn't put it away. He dialed a number. "I'm warning you," Helen said. "Put the phone down, or I will have you zip-tied to your seat." Marcus held the phone to his ear. It rang once, twice. Someone answered. "This is Marcus Thompson," he said. "Authorization code Delta 77. Connect me to Captain Morrison on Skyline Flight 118. Priority override." Helen's face went pale. "What did you just say?" "Emergency line, please. Tell him the owner is calling." The phone was silent for 3 seconds. Then it connected. Captain Morrison, the voice said. I was told this was an emergency override. Who is this? Captain, this is Marcus Thompson. I acquired Skyline Airlines 72 hours ago. I'm sitting in seat 1A of your aircraft, and your chief purser is currently attempting to have me restrained for a theft I didn't commit. Sir, you're the new owner, yes. Check your secure tablet. You should have received a notification from corporate when I boarded. Authorization Delta 77. There was a pause. The sound of tapping. Then Captain Morrison's voice returned completely different. Strained. Terrified. Mr. Thompson, sir, I apologize. The notification was flagged as routine. I didn't realize. It's fine, Captain. What I need you to do right now is turn this plane around. Turn around, sir, we're 4 hours from London. I understand, we're going back to New York. That's highly irregular. What's irregular is your flight crew. I'm invoking emergency authority under Section 8 of the Corporate Safety Guidelines. I want this aircraft on the ground at JFK in 90 minutes. Yes, sir. Understood. Should I come back there? That won't be necessary. Just make the announcement. And Captain, tell Helen Crane that her employment with Skyline Airlines ends the moment this plane touches down. Marcus hung up. The cabin was dead silent. Helen was staring at him. Her face had gone from pale to gray. She looked like she might collapse. You, she whispered. You're the new owner. Yes. That's impossible. You're wearing a hoodie. I know. It's comfortable. You might want to try one. You'll have plenty of time soon. The intercom crackled. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I apologize for the interruption, but we've encountered a situation that requires us to return to New York immediately. Please fasten your seatbelts. We'll be landing at JFK in approximately 90 minutes. A murmur swept through the cabin. Passengers looked at each other. Looked at Helen standing frozen in the aisle. Looked at Marcus, sitting calmly in 1A with his crying daughter in his arms. Richard Wells's face had gone white. He was still standing, his hand still at his empty wrist. The watch, he stammered. I'm sure there's a reasonable check between your seat cushion and the wall, Marcus said quietly. It probably slid down when you adjusted your blanket. Wells hesitated. Then he turned, shoved his hand into the gap beside his seat and pulled out the Patek Philippe. He stared at it. He stared at Marcus. He sat down without another word. Helen hadn't moved. She was still standing in the aisle, her tablet hanging loose in her hand, her world crumbling around her. 18 years, she whispered. I gave this airline 18 years. And in those 18 years, Marcus said, 47 passengers complained about you. 3 of them mentioned race. All 3 complaints were dismissed. Do you know what happened to those people, Helen? Do you even remember their names? She didn't answer. They went home. They told their families. They stopped flying Skyline. Some of them probably never flew first class again because you made them feel like they didn't deserve to. You didn't just ruin their flights. You ruined their confidence, their sense of belonging, their faith that the world might actually treat them fairly. Marcus stood up. He was taller than Helen. He looked down at her. I bought this airline, he said, because I wanted to fix it. I wanted to believe that the problems were systemic, not personal. That with new training and new policies, things could change. He shook his head. But some things can't be trained out. Some people are just broken. And broken people in positions of power break everyone around them. Helen's lip trembled. I was following protocol. I was just... You were cruel. To me. To my daughter. To every person who ever walked onto your plane without the right clothes or the right skin or the right last name. He sat back down, pulled Lily close. She was still crying, but quieter now. You should start packing your things, Marcus said. We land in 85 minutes. I want you off my plane before the door opens. Helen stood there for another moment. Then she turned and walked toward the galley. She didn't look back. The plane banked hard to the left. The force of the turn pressed Marcus into his seat, pressed Lily deeper into his arms. Through the window he could see the Atlantic Ocean far below, dark and endless, as the aircraft carved a wide arc back toward New York. Nobody in first class spoke. The other passengers sat frozen, processing what they had just witnessed. The man in the hoodie. The accusations. The phone call. The captain's announcement. The watch found exactly where Marcus had said it would be. Richard Wells hadn't moved since finding his Patek Philippe. He sat with the watch in his lap, staring at it like it had betrayed him. His face cycled through emotions. Disbelief. Fear. The slow creeping realization that he had just accused a billionaire of theft on camera. Because people were filming. At least 3 passengers had their phones out. They thought they were being subtle, but Marcus saw them. He didn't care. Let them film. Let the world see. "Daddy." Lily's voice was small, exhausted. She looked up at him with red-rimmed eyes. "Yes, baby." "Are we going home?" "Yes, baby. We're going home." "What about London? What about Christmas?" Marcus felt his heart squeeze. The trip they'd planned for months. The hotel with the view of Big Ben. The ice skating. The hot chocolate by the Thames. All of it gone. "We'll go another time," he said. "I promise." "But you said this time was special." "Every time with you is special." Lily considered this. Then she nodded the way children do when they trust their parents completely, even when they don't understand. "Okay, Daddy." She put her head back on his chest and closed her eyes. Marcus held her and watched the galley. Through the half-drawn curtain, he could see Helen. She was sitting on the jump seat, her face buried in her hands. Her shoulders were shaking. Emma, the young flight attendant, stood nearby looking lost. Uncertain. Afraid. The intercom crackled. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Morrison again. I want to apologize for the inconvenience of our return to JFK. Ground operations has been notified, and we'll have gates and transportation arranged for connecting passengers. Our current flight time is approximately 80 minutes. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened." The captain's voice was strained. Professional, but strained. Marcus could hear the fear beneath the calm. Good. He should be afraid. Not because Marcus wanted to punish him, but because fear was the beginning of change. Fear of consequences was the only thing that made some people behave. A soft sound made Marcus turn. Emma was standing at the edge of his row. Her hands were clasped in front of her fingers, intertwined so tightly her knuckles were white. "Sir." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Yes. I wanted to say." She stopped, swallowed, started again. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Marcus studied her. She was young. 22, maybe 23. Her eyes were wet. "What are you sorry for, Emma?" "For everything. For the champagne. For the towels. For not saying anything when Helen—" She couldn't finish. "When Helen what?" "When she told us not to serve you. When she called you names. In the galley. When we thought you couldn't hear." "What names?" Emma flinched. I can't repeat them." "You don't have to." I should have said something. I should have stood up to her. But I was scared. She's the chief purser. She's been here forever. She could end my career with one phone call. Emma's voice broke. "But that's not an excuse. I know it's not an excuse. I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. And I understand if you fire me too." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. He looked at this young woman trembling before him, waiting for judgment. "How long have you been with the airline?" 8 months. "Do you like the job?" "I love flying. I love meeting people. I love—" She hesitated. "I loved what I thought this job was, before I met Helen." What did you think it was? Helping people, making their journeys better, making them feel welcome. She wiped her eyes. I didn't know it would be like this. I didn't know there were people who used their power to hurt instead of help. Marcus nodded slowly. Sit down, Emma. Sir. Sit. He gestured to the empty seat across the aisle. Just for a minute. Emma looked toward the galley where Helen was still collapsed on the jump seat. She'll see. She's not your boss anymore. Emma hesitated. Then she sat. Let me ask you something, Marcus said. If you could go back to tonight and do it differently, what would you do? Emma thought about it. Really thought. I would have served you the champagne anyway, even if Helen yelled at me, even if she reported me. I would have done my job the way I was trained to do it. Why didn't you? Because I was afraid of losing everything. My job, my apartment. My whole life is built on this paycheck. She shook her head. But sitting here now looking at your little girl, thinking about what we put her through, I would have lost everything anyway. I would have lost my self-respect. And that's worth more than any paycheck. Marcus felt something shift inside him. He had planned to fire everyone on this crew. He had planned to clean house completely top to bottom and start fresh. But Emma wasn't Helen. Emma was afraid. Emma was young. Emma had made a mistake born of fear, not malice. I'm not going to fire you, Marcus said. Emma's head snapped up. What? You're going to be suspended. 3 months unpaid. You're going to attend every discrimination training course the company offers. You're going to write a detailed account of everything that happened tonight and submit it to HR. And when you come back, you're going to be a different kind of flight attendant. I don't understand. I'm giving you a chance, Emma. The same chance that nobody gave to the passengers Helen hurt over the past 18 years. Use it. Be better. Be the person you wanted to be when you took this job. Emma started crying again, but differently this time, relief instead of fear. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. I won't let you down. Don't thank me. Prove me right. Emma nodded. She stood up. She looked like she wanted to say more, but couldn't find the words. She walked back to the galley. Marcus watched her go. Then he looked across the aisle. Richard Wells was staring at him. Mr. Thompson, Wells said. His voice was completely different now. The arrogance was gone. In its place was something desperate, pleading. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Has there? The watch. I panicked. It was dark. I couldn't find it. I jumped to conclusions. You jumped to racism. Wells flinched. That's a strong word. It's the right word. You didn't accuse anyone else of stealing your watch. You didn't accuse the white woman in 3A. You didn't accuse the couple in 4B. You accused me, the only black man in first class, the man in the hoodie. I was frustrated. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking clearly enough to remember my clothes, to remember that I'd walked past your seat, to remember that I didn't look like I belonged here. Wells's face crumbled. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. It was wrong. I know it was wrong. Do you? Yes, I do. I've never thought of myself as... He couldn't say the word. Racist. Marcus finished for him. I have black friends. I donate to diversity initiatives. I voted for... Stop. Wells stopped. None of that matters, Marcus said. What matters is what you did tonight. What matters is that you looked at a black man with a sleeping child and decided he was a criminal. What matters is that you weaponized a flight attendant against me, backed her accusations, and tried to have me arrested in front of my daughter. I can make this right. Whatever you want. I'll make a public apology. I'll donate to charity. You'll leave my airline. Wells blinked. What? You're banned. Effective immediately. Skyline Airlines and all partner carriers. You'll receive official notification when we land. You can't do that. I'm a platinum member. I spend $200,000 a year. I spent $4 billion buying the company. Your $200,000 doesn't impress me. I'll sue. Please do. I'd love to show a jury the video of you calling me a thief because of my skin color. Wells opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. He turned around in his seat and didn't speak for the rest of the flight. Marcus leaned back. Lily was asleep again, her breathing slow and steady. He stroked her hair, feeling the softness of her curls against his palm. This wasn't how tonight was supposed to go. He'd expected some discrimination. That was the whole point of the undercover test. He'd expected cold service, maybe some suspicious looks, perhaps a comment or two. He hadn't expected this. He hadn't expected his daughter to be starved and terrified. He hadn't expected to be accused of theft. He hadn't expected to feel for just a moment the helpless rage that so many black people felt every day. The rage of being judged before you even open your mouth. The rage of knowing that no matter what you achieve, some people will always see the color of your skin first. The rage of watching your child learn that the world is not as fair as you promised her it would be. Marcus closed his eyes. He thought about his wife, Angela. 3 years gone, but never far from his mind. She would have handled this differently. Angela had a way of disarming people with kindness, of making them ashamed of their prejudice, without ever raising her voice. She could smile at someone who was being cruel and somehow make them feel small. Marcus didn't have that gift. His weapon was power. His response to injustice was to burn it down and build something better in its place. Angela used to worry about that. "You can't fire everyone who disappoints you," she'd said once back when they were building the company together. "You can't solve every problem with money and lawyers." Then how do you solve it? By changing hearts, one at a time. By being so undeniably excellent that they have no choice but to see you as a person. That sounds exhausting. It is, but it's the only thing that lasts. Marcus opened his eyes. He looked at Lily still sleeping peacefully despite everything. Maybe Angela was right. Maybe firing Helen and banning Wells wasn't enough. Maybe real change required more than punishment. But tonight, punishment would have to do. The plane continued its descent. 40 minutes later, the captain came on the intercom again. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've begun our approach to JFK. Please ensure your seatbelts are fastened and your tray tables are stowed. We'll be on the ground in approximately 15 minutes. Marcus woke Lily gently. She blinked up at him disoriented. "Are we in London?" "No, baby. We're home." "Home?" She rubbed her eyes. "But we just left." "I know. Plans changed." "Because of the mean lady?" "Partly." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Is the mean lady going to get in trouble?" "Yes." "Big trouble." "Very big." Lily nodded. There was something in her eyes that Marcus hadn't seen before, something older than 6. "Good," she said quietly. "She made me cry." "I know, baby. I'm sorry." "It's not your fault, Daddy. You couldn't make her be nice." "No, but I can make sure she can't be mean to anyone else." "How?" "By taking away her power." The plane touched down. The impact jolted through the cabin, followed by the roar of reverse thrust. The brakes engaged. The aircraft slowed. Marcus looked out the window. They weren't approaching a normal gate. They were being directed to a remote area of the tarmac far from the terminal. And there, waiting on the concrete, was a convoy of black SUVs. Behind them, 2 Port Authority police vehicles with lights flashing. And standing at the front of the group was a tall woman with steel gray hair and glasses that looked sharp enough to cut. Victoria Santos, Global Head of Human Resources for Skyline Airlines. The woman they called the Grim Reaper. Marcus had called her during the flight, told her to assemble a team, told her to bring security, told her to be ready for what was coming. She had not disappointed. The plane came to a complete stop. The engines powered down. The fasten seatbelt sign turned off. Nobody moved. The door opened. A gust of cold New York air swept through the cabin. December in New York. The kind of cold that cuts through clothing and settles in your bones. Captain Morrison appeared from the cockpit. He was a tall man, graying at the temples with the weathered face of someone who had spent 30 years in the air. He looked exhausted, shell-shocked. He walked directly to seat 1A. "Mr. Thompson." "Captain? I want to apologize personally. I should have realized. When I got the notification about your boarding pass, I should have made the connection. I should have come back here myself. I should have—" "You didn't know." "That's not an excuse. No, it's not." Marcus stood up, lifting Lily with him. "But you're not the problem, Captain. You trusted your crew to do their jobs. That trust was misplaced. That's a systemic failure, not a personal one." Morrison nodded, but the guilt didn't leave his face. "What happens now? Now you go home to your family. You take a few days off, and when you come back, you fly for a company that's going to be very different than the one you left." "Different how?" "Better, I hope." Marcus shifted Lily to his other hip. "Merry Christmas, Captain." "Merry Christmas, sir." Marcus walked toward the door. As he passed Helen Crane still sitting on the jump seat. She looked up. Her face was a mess, mascara smeared under her eyes. Her perfect hair had come undone. She looked smaller somehow, as if the power she'd wielded for 18 years had been physically removed from her body. "Mr. Thompson." Marcus stopped. "I didn't know," Helen whispered. "If I had known who you were, you would have treated me differently." "Yes." "That's exactly the problem, Helen." She flinched. "The way you treated me tonight isn't new. It's who you are. It's who you've always been. I just happened to be someone with the power to stop you. But the passengers you hurt before me, they didn't have that power. They just had to take it, had to swallow your cruelty and move on with their lives. I was following protocol. I was protecting the cabin. You were protecting your prejudice, and you used protocol as a shield." Helen's lip trembled. "I've given everything to this airline, 18 years. My marriage fell apart because I was always flying. I missed my son's graduation. I missed my mother's funeral. I gave everything. And somewhere along the way you became the villain of everyone else's story. That's not sacrifice, Helen. That's destruction." He turned to leave. "What's going to happen to me?" Helen's voice cracked. "Please. I need to know. I'm 62. I'll never get another job in aviation. I have bills. I have a mortgage. I have—" "You have consequences," Marcus said. "Just like everyone else." He walked off the plane. The cold hit him immediately. December wind whipping across the tarmac, carrying the smell of jet fuel and the sounds of the airport. Lily buried her face in his shoulder, hiding from the cold. Victoria Santos approached. She was wearing a black coat that probably cost more than most people's rent, and her face showed nothing. No anger, no sympathy, just professional neutrality. "Mr. Thompson, welcome back to New York." "Victoria, thank you for coming. You said it was urgent." She looked past him at the plane. "I've reviewed the preliminary reports. The cockpit voice recorder data, the HR file flags you uploaded during the flight. And it's worse than we thought. The discrimination on this route is systemic. Helen Crane has been protected by 3 different regional managers over the years. Complaints were buried. Passengers were paid off with miles and vouchers. There's a paper trail of cover-ups going back a decade." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. How many people? At least 40 documented cases, probably hundreds more that were never reported. 40 people. 40 people who had experienced what he experienced tonight. 40 people who had been made to feel worthless, unwelcome, less than human. And he had almost been number 41. "Clean house," Marcus said. "Everyone who enabled this. Every manager who looked the other way. Every HR representative who closed a file without investigation. I want them gone." "That's a lot of people." "I don't care." Victoria nodded. No argument. No hesitation. Understood. Behind them, the cabin door was still open. Marcus could see Helen being escorted out by security. She moved slowly, her head down, her hands shaking as she held a small bag of personal belongings. At the bottom of the stairs, she stopped. She looked up at Marcus. For a moment, he thought she might say something. Apologize again, plead again, make another excuse. Instead, she just stared. There was something in her eyes that Marcus recognized. Something he'd seen in boardrooms and courtrooms and negotiation tables all over the world. Hatred. Not the loud, obvious hatred that announces itself. The quiet kind. The kind that blames others for its own downfall. The kind that would rather destroy itself than admit it was wrong. Helen hated him. Not because of what he'd done, but because of who he was. A black man who had the audacity to fight back. A black man who won. She would never forgive him for that. And Marcus was fine with it. "Get her off my property," he said to Victoria. Security led Helen away. She didn't look back. Richard Wells came next. He walked down the stairs, slowly clutching his carry-on like a shield. He saw the SUVs, the police lights, Victoria Santos with her tablet and her steel gray hair. He looked for Marcus. Found him. "Mr. Thompson, please. Can we talk? We have nothing to discuss. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But I'm not a bad person. I'm really not. If you would just let me explain." "Security will escort you to the terminal. You'll receive official notification of your ban within 24 hours. If you have questions, contact our legal department." "Legal? Are you planning to sue me?" "That depends on what you say to the press." Wells's face went pale. The press. There are at least 3 videos of tonight's incident already uploaded to social media. By tomorrow morning, this will be national news. When the reporters call you, and they will, I suggest you think very carefully about your answers. Wells looked like he might be sick. He opened his mouth, closed it. Then he followed security toward a waiting shuttle bus, his Patek Philippe watch glinting uselessly on his wrist. Marcus watched him go. Victoria stepped closer. "The gate agent, Derek. He's being escorted down from the terminal now. And I have a list of the regional managers who signed off on Helen's performance reviews. Would you like to handle them tonight or wait until morning?" "Tonight. All of them. I want everyone involved to wake up tomorrow unemployed." "That's aggressive." Tonight was aggressive. Marcus looked down at Lily, still nestled against his shoulder. "They made my daughter cry. They made her afraid of airplanes. They made her first experience with luxury feel like a punishment." Victoria's expression softened just slightly. "I understand." "Do you?" "My father was a bus driver in Houston. When I was 10, a passenger spit on him because he was Mexican. Called him names I still can't repeat. My father just wiped his face and kept driving. He didn't say anything, didn't fight back, just kept driving." She paused. "I asked him later why he didn't do something, why he let that man humiliate him, and he said, 'Because I need this job more than I need my pride.' That stuck with me. The idea that some people have to choose between dignity and survival." Victoria looked at Marcus. "Tonight, you gave those passengers on your flight something my father never had. You gave them someone who could fight back, someone who could say enough." Marcus didn't know how to respond. He looked at his daughter again. "I didn't feel powerful up there," he said quietly. "I felt helpless. Even with all the money. Even with the ownership papers. For a moment, I was just another black man being accused of something I didn't do. And that's why this matters." Victoria's voice was firm. "Because if it can happen to you, it happens to everyone. And the only way to stop it is to burn it down and build something better." Lily stirred. She lifted her head from Marcus's shoulder. "Daddy." "Yes, baby. I'm hungry." Marcus felt something in his chest loosen, the tension of the past few hours finally releasing just a little bit. I know, baby. Let's go get some food. Real food. Not crackers. Real food. Whatever you want. Pancakes. It's midnight. Midnight pancakes. Marcus smiled. The first real smile he'd managed all night. Midnight pancakes it is. He carried his daughter toward the waiting SUV. Behind him, the Skyline Airlines plane sat empty on the tarmac, its lights still glowing against the dark December sky. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. The press conferences, the policy changes, the hundreds of decisions that would transform an airline built on prejudice into one built on dignity. But tonight, Marcus Thompson was just a father getting midnight pancakes with his daughter. And that was enough. The pancakes arrived at 12:47 a.m. Marcus sat across from Lily in a 24-hour diner 3 blocks from his Manhattan apartment. The place was nearly empty. A tired waitress, a drunk couple in the corner booth, a man who looked like he hadn't slept in days reading a newspaper at the counter. Lily attacked her pancakes with the ferocity of someone who hadn't eaten in 12 hours. Because she hadn't. Not really. Not beyond 3 stale crackers and a cup of hummus that tasted like cardboard. Marcus watched her eat. He couldn't touch his own food. Daddy, why aren't you eating? Not hungry, baby. You should eat. You said pancakes are important. Did I say that? You said breakfast is the most important meal, and pancakes are breakfast, so pancakes are important. Marcus smiled. That's good logic. I'm 6. I'm very logical. She said it with such seriousness that Marcus laughed. A real laugh, the first one, in what felt like forever. His phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again. Then it didn't stop buzzing. He looked at the screen. 17 new messages, 8 missed calls, 3 voicemails, all in the last 10 minutes. Daddy, your phone is angry. It's just busy. Why is it busy at nighttime? Because some things don't wait until morning. He opened the first message. It was from his PR director. Video is everywhere. CNN picked it up. Fox is running it. Twitter is melting down. Hashtag Skyline Racism is trending #1. Call me ASAP. The second message was from Victoria Santos. Press has identified Helen Crane. Reporters at her home. She's refusing to comment. Derek's name is also out. His social media history is being dug up. It's not good. The third message was from his lawyer. Richard Wells's firm is in crisis mode. His partners are distancing themselves. Expect a call from his attorneys by morning. They'll want to settle. Marcus put the phone down. Daddy? Yes, baby. You look worried. I'm not worried. Your face looks worried. Marcus reached across the table and squeezed her hand. I'm just tired. It's been a long night. The longest night ever. Yes, the longest night ever. Lily finished her last bite of pancake. She looked up with syrup on her chin and said, Daddy, are you going to make the mean people go away? I already did, baby. Forever. Forever. She nodded satisfied. Then she yawned so wide Marcus could see her missing tooth. Time for bed, he said. But I'm not sleepy. Your yawn says otherwise. Yawns lie. Marcus paid the bill and carried his daughter out into the cold December night. The SUV was waiting at the curb. The driver didn't ask questions. He just drove them home. Lily was asleep before they reached the apartment. Marcus put her to bed, tucking the covers around her small body, making sure her favorite stuffed elephant was within reach. He stood in the doorway for a long moment watching her breathe. She was so small, so fragile, so completely dependent on him to protect her from a world that didn't always deserve her innocence. He thought about the flight, about Helen's sneer, about the plastic cup, about the crackers, about the moment when Wells had pointed his finger and called him a thief. Lily had seen all of it. She would remember all of it, and there was nothing Marcus could do to take that memory away. He closed her door quietly and walked to his home office. The city glowed through the windows Manhattan at 2 a.m., never sleeping, never stopping. He sat down at his desk and started making calls. The next 72 hours were chaos. By dawn, the story had gone global. Every major news outlet in the world was running some version of the headline, "Black billionaire humiliated on his own airline fires crew on the spot." The videos were everywhere. Grainy phone footage of Helen searching Marcus's bag. Clear audio of Wells shouting about theft. The moment when Marcus revealed himself, when Helen's face went white, when the captain announced they were turning around. Someone had even captured the tarmac. Helen being led away by security. Wells walking to the shuttle bus alone. Marcus carrying Lily toward the SUV, his hoodie hood pulled up against the wind. That image became iconic. The billionaire in the worn college hoodie, protecting his daughter from the cold, walking away from the wreckage of injustice. People loved it. The internet, which was usually so quick to tear people down, rallied behind Marcus Thompson. #Justice. At altitude, trended for 3 straight days. Skyline. Racism spawned 1,000 think pieces. Late-night hosts did monologues about unconscious bias and the arrogance of airport employees. And then, the other stories started coming out. The 47 complaints against Helen Crane became 47 interviews. Former passengers came forward one after another sharing their experiences. The black woman who had been accused of fraud 2 years ago went on Good Morning America and cried as she described the humiliation she had endured. "I felt so small," she said. "I felt like no matter what I achieved, no matter how hard I worked, I would never be good enough for people like her." She looked at me and decided I was a criminal before I even opened my mouth. The host asked her how she felt now watching Helen face consequences. "Vindicated," she said, "but also sad. Because it took a billionaire to make them listen. The rest of us, we've been screaming for years, and no one heard us." Marcus watched the interview from his office. He didn't feel victorious. He felt tired. His phone rang. Victoria Santos. "We have a situation," she said. "Another one. Derek Miller, the gate agent. He's been identified online. Someone dug up his social media history. And it's bad, Marcus. Really bad. Racist posts going back 5 years. Slurs. Jokes about black passengers. A tweet from 2019 where he called someone a welfare queen for using airline miles." Marcus closed his eyes. "Of course." "It gets worse. He's given an interview to a right-wing outlet. He's claiming he's the victim. Says he was just following procedure and that you targeted him because he was white. He said that on camera. He also said the airline is being taken over by woke politics and that you're destroying a great American company to push an agenda." Marcus felt the anger rise hot and sharp. He pushed it down. Where is he now? At his mother's apartment in Queens. Press is camped outside. He's become a symbol for a certain segment of the population. A symbol of what? Of people who think discrimination complaints are overblown, who think the real victims are white employees being held accountable for their actions. Marcus laughed. It was not a happy sound. So he humiliates me, calls me a drug dealer, gets fired, and somehow he's the victim. Welcome to America. What do you recommend? Nothing. Let him hang himself. The more he talks, the more damage he does to his own cause. His social media history is poison. Every time he claims innocence, someone posts another racist tweet he made 3 years ago. And Helen? Completely silent. She's lawyering up. We expect a wrongful termination suit within the week. On what grounds? She's claiming the firing was retaliation for following security procedures. Her lawyer is arguing that she had a reasonable suspicion of fraud based on your ticket status and that her actions were consistent with company policy. Company policy doesn't include racial profiling. No, but it's vague enough that a good lawyer can argue interpretation. She's also claiming emotional distress from the public shaming. Says the video release was a violation of her privacy. Marcus rubbed his temples. The video was taken by passengers on their own phones. I know, but she's going to try everything. She's got nothing to lose. What about Wells? That's actually good news. His law firm forced him out yesterday. Partnership dissolved effective immediately. His clients are fleeing. Nobody wants to be associated with the man who tried to have a black billionaire arrested for stealing a watch that was in his own seat cushion. Is he fighting back? He's trying to. His lawyers sent a letter threatening a defamation suit if you don't lift the airline ban. They claim his reputation has been destroyed by your public statements. His reputation was destroyed by his own actions. We have it on video, multiple angles, audio confirmation of everything he said. Our legal team says any suit he files will be dismissed within weeks. Marcus was quiet for a moment. He looked out the window at the city below. What about his family? His wife filed for divorce 2 days ago, cited irreconcilable differences, but everyone knows the real reason. She's been photographed moving out of their Westchester house. Kids. 2. College age. One of them posted on Instagram that he's ashamed to share DNA with his father. The other hasn't said anything publicly, but sources say she's not speaking to him. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. He didn't like Richard Wells. He didn't feel sorry for what had happened to him. But the collateral damage, the children, the family, the lives destroyed by one man's moment of ugliness, that was harder to celebrate. And the crew, the ones who weren't directly involved. Captain Morrison has requested a meeting. He wants to apologize in person. The rest of the crew from Flight 118 has been placed on administrative leave pending review. Most of them will probably keep their jobs. They didn't do anything wrong except fail to intervene. Failure to intervene is doing something wrong. I know, but legally, it's harder to prove. We can mandate additional training, we can flag their files, but termination would be difficult to justify. What about Emma? The young blonde. She's in the mandatory training program like you ordered. 3 months unpaid. She sent you a letter, actually. Handwritten. Want me to read it? No. Forward it to me. I'll read it myself. Understood. Victoria paused. Marcus, there's one more thing. What? The board is getting nervous. The stock dropped 4% on Monday. It recovered some yesterday, but investors are worried about the instability. They're asking if you have a plan. I have a plan. Care to share it? Tomorrow. Press conference at 10 a.m. Make sure every major outlet is there. I want cameras from every network, every streaming service, every website that matters. What are you going to say? The truth. And then, I'm going to change everything. And the press conference was held in the lobby of Skyline Airlines headquarters. White marble floors, glass walls, a podium with the company logo behind it, a logo that would be redesigned within the month. Marcus arrived at 9:45. He was wearing a suit this time. Tom Ford charcoal gray, perfectly tailored. His shoes were polished. His tie was straight. He looked like a CEO, but he was still wearing the Howard University class ring he'd worn since graduation. And in his pocket was a picture of Lily drawn in crayon that she'd given him that morning. For good luck, Daddy. I don't need luck, baby. Everyone needs luck. That's what Mommy said. Marcus had taken the picture without arguing. The press room was packed. Cameras everywhere. Reporters jockeying for position. The buzz of anticipation filling the air like electricity before a storm. Victoria was at his side. Ready. No. Good. The best speeches come from uncertainty. Marcus walked to the podium. The room fell silent. Good morning, he said. My name is Marcus Thompson. 3 days ago, I was a passenger on Skyline Airlines Flight 118. I was traveling with my 6-year-old daughter. We were going to London for Christmas. He paused. We never made it to London. Instead, we experienced something that no passenger on any airline should ever experience. We were profiled. We were humiliated. We were accused of crimes we didn't commit. And when I revealed who I was, the new owner of the airline, the crew members responsible were terminated on the spot. Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled. The videos you've seen are real. The stories from other passengers are real. The pattern of discrimination on this airline going back more than a decade is real, and I am here today to tell you what we are going to do about it." He looked directly into the main camera. "First, I am announcing a complete overhaul of Skyline Airlines training programs. Every employee from gate agents to flight attendants to executives will undergo mandatory bias training. Not the 1-hour online course that counts as training at most companies. Real training. Intensive training. Training that changes how people think and act. Second, I am establishing an independent review board to investigate all discrimination complaints from the past 10 years. Every case that was dismissed. Every passenger who was paid off with miles and told to go away. Every instance where someone was made to feel less than human because of how they looked or where they came from. We will find those people. We will apologize to them. And we will make it right. Third, I am implementing a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination of any kind. This is not a warning system. This is not a 3 strikes policy. If you discriminate against a passenger, you are fired. Immediately. No appeals, no second chances." A reporter raised her hand. "Mr. Thompson, critics are calling this an overreaction. They say you're using your personal experience to push a political agenda." Marcus looked at her. "My daughter cried herself to sleep last night because a flight attendant told her she didn't deserve to be in first class. She's 6 years old. She doesn't know what racism is. She doesn't know what discrimination means. All she knows is that strangers were cruel to her for reasons she can't understand. If protecting her from that is political, then I guess I'm political." Another reporter. "Helen Crane's lawyer says she's planning to sue for wrongful termination. What's your response?" "My response is that she can sue. She'll lose. We have video evidence, audio evidence, and 47 complaints spanning 18 years. If she wants to go to court and explain why she thought it was acceptable to accuse a black man of theft because he was wearing a hoodie, she's welcome to try." "What about Derek Miller? He's claiming he was just following procedure." Derek Miller's social media history tells a very different story. A man who posts racist jokes online for 5 years doesn't suddenly become unbiased when he puts on a company vest. He brought his prejudice to work, and now he's facing the consequences. Richard Wells is threatening to sue for defamation. Richard Wells falsely accused me of stealing his watch. On video, in front of witnesses. If that's not defamation, I don't know what is. His lawyers can send whatever letters they want. We'll see them in court. The questions continued for another 30 minutes. Marcus answered every one. He didn't dodge. He didn't deflect. He spoke with the calm certainty of a man who knew exactly what he was doing and why. When it was over, Victoria walked him to the elevator. "That was good," she said. "It was necessary. The board will be relieved. The stock is already recovering." "I don't care about the stock." "I know, but they do. And keeping them happy means keeping control. You can't change the company if they vote you out." Marcus nodded. She was right. The ugly truth of corporate power: you could only do good if you stayed in charge, and staying in charge meant playing the game. "What's next?" he asked. "Helen's lawyer called. She wants to meet, off the record, says Helen has something to say." "Why would I meet with her?" "I don't know, but she was insistent, said it was important." Marcus thought about it. He thought about Helen's face on the tarmac, the hatred in her eyes, the way she had looked at him like he had stolen something from her instead of the other way around. "Set it up," he said. "Tomorrow, my office, just her and me." "Are you sure?" "No, but I want to understand." "Understand what?" "How someone becomes that. How you wake up every day for 18 years and choose cruelty. How you look at another human being and decide they're worth less than you." Victoria was quiet for a moment. "Some people," she said finally, "don't need a reason to hate. They just do, and they'll spend their whole lives justifying it." "Maybe, but I still want to ask." The elevator arrived. Marcus stepped inside. "Marcus," Victoria called. He held the door. Be careful. Helen Crane has nothing left to lose. People like that are dangerous. I know. The doors closed. Marcus rode the elevator to the top floor where his corner office waited. He walked in and sat behind the desk, looking out at the city that had made him everything he was. Tomorrow he would face Helen Crane. Tonight he would go home and have dinner with his daughter. The rest could wait. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily sent from the nanny's phone. "Daddy, when are you coming home?" He typed back. "Soon, baby. Setting the table for dinner. What are we having?" "Whatever you want. Pizza works. With extra cheese." "Always. I love you, Daddy." Marcus stared at the message for a long moment. 4 words. 4 simple words that meant more than all the billions in his bank account. "I love you too, baby." He put the phone down and looked at the picture she had drawn. A stick figure daddy in a gray hoodie, holding hands with a smaller stick figure with curly hair. Above them, a yellow sun and a blue airplane. In crayon letters at the bottom, she had written, "Daddy is brave." Marcus folded the picture carefully and put it back in his pocket. Tomorrow would be hard, but tonight he was just a father going home to his daughter. And that was the most important job he had. Helen Crane arrived at Marcus's office at exactly 3 p.m. the next day. She looked different than she had on the plane. Smaller, older. The severe grooming was gone, replaced by hastily applied makeup and hair that hadn't been styled. She wore a plain black dress that hung on her frame, like she'd lost weight in the past week. Her lawyer, a thin man in an expensive suit, walked beside her. He carried a briefcase and the air of someone who charged $500 an hour. Marcus's assistant led them into the corner office. Marcus stood behind his desk. He didn't offer his hand. He didn't smile. "Sit," he said. They sat. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," the lawyer began. "My client." "I didn't agree to meet with you," Marcus interrupted. "I agreed to meet with her. You can wait outside." The lawyer blinked. "I'm afraid I can't do that. As her legal representative, this isn't a legal proceeding. This is a conversation. If she wants to talk, she can talk. If she wants to hide behind her lawyer, she can leave." Helen put a hand on the lawyer's arm. "It's okay, Gerald. Wait outside." "Helen, I really don't think—" "Please." The lawyer hesitated. Then he gathered his briefcase and left, closing the door behind him with obvious reluctance. Helen and Marcus were alone. For a long moment neither spoke. The city hummed beyond the windows. The clock on the wall ticked steadily. "Why did you want to see me?" Marcus finally asked. Helen looked at her hands. They were folded in her lap, fingers intertwined tightly. "I don't know," she said quietly. "I've been asking myself the same thing. That's not good enough. I know." She took a breath. "I wanted to explain. I wanted you to understand." "Understand what? That you treated me like garbage because of my skin color. That you humiliated my daughter. That you've been doing the same thing to passengers for 18 years. "Yes." Her voice cracked. "All of it." "I don't need your explanation, Helen. I don't need your justification. What I need is for you to never do it again. And since you can't work in aviation anymore, I'd say that's accomplished." Helen flinched like he'd slapped her. "I grew up poor," she said suddenly. "Small town in Ohio. My father worked at a factory. My mother cleaned houses. We had nothing, less than nothing. I didn't ask for your biography. Please, just please let me finish." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "Fine. Talk." Helen's eyes grew distant. "When I was 14, a black family moved into our neighborhood, the Johnsons. They had a nice car, new clothes. The father was a doctor who'd transferred to our local hospital." She paused. "My father hated them. Hated that they had more than us. Hated that a black man could afford things he couldn't. He used to sit at the dinner table and talk about how they probably stole everything, how they didn't deserve it, how the world was being given away to people who hadn't earned it." "And you believed him?" I was 14. He was my father. Of course I believed him. Marcus said nothing. When I got this job, I swore I would be different. I would treat everyone fairly. I would judge people by how they behaved, not how they looked. Helen's voice grew bitter. But then I started flying first-class routes, and I saw people like you. Black, Hispanic, Asian. People who looked like they didn't belong, but somehow they were there, in the best seats, drinking the best champagne, getting the service that I thought was reserved for white people. Yes. She looked down again. And every time I saw someone who didn't fit, I heard my father's voice. They didn't earn it. They don't deserve it. They're taking something from people who worked harder. People who looked like you. Yes. Even though you had no idea how hard they'd worked, how much they'd sacrificed, what they'd overcome to get there. No, I didn't think about that. I saw what I saw, and I reacted. Marcus stood up. He walked to the window and looked out at the city. Do you know what I did before I bought this airline? You founded a tech company. Everyone knows that. I founded 3 tech companies. The first one failed. I lost everything. I was living in my car for 6 months, eating 1 meal a day, showering at the YMCA. The second company barely broke even. Took me 8 years to build something that wasn't constantly on the edge of collapse. The third one, the one that made me a billionaire, I started with nothing but an idea and a laptop I bought at a pawn shop. He turned to face her. I worked 20-hour days for a decade. I missed birthdays. I missed holidays. I missed the first 2 years of my daughter's life because I was in meetings and on planes and fighting for every inch of ground. When my wife was diagnosed with cancer, I almost lost the company because I couldn't focus on anything but keeping her alive. And when she died, I almost lost myself. Helen was crying now, silent tears running down her face. So don't tell me about earning things, Marcus said. Don't tell me about deserving things. You looked at me and saw a hoodie. You looked at my daughter and saw a nuisance. You never once considered that the man in front of you had fought harder for his seat in first class than anyone else on that plane. I know that now. Do you? Or are you just sorry you got caught? Helen didn't answer. That's what I thought. Marcus walked back to his desk. He sat down. Here's what's going to happen, Helen. You're going to drop your lawsuit. You're going to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And you're going to disappear. And if I don't, then I will spend whatever it takes to destroy you in court. I will hire the best lawyers in the country. I will subpoena every complaint ever filed against you. I will put every passenger you ever humiliated on the witness stand. And when it's over, you won't just be unemployed. You'll be infamous. The face of racism in the airline industry. The woman who attacked a child and accused her father of theft. Helen's face crumpled. I have nothing left, she whispered. No job, no savings. My son won't speak to me. My ex-husband is demanding I pay back the alimony he gave me. I'm 62 years old and my life is over. Your life isn't over. It's just different. What am I supposed to do? That's not my problem. Helen looked up at him. I'm asking for mercy. And I'm giving you the same mercy you gave to every passenger you ever mistreated. The same mercy you gave to my daughter when she was crying from hunger. The same mercy you gave to the black woman you accused of fraud 2 years ago. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Knowing doesn't undo it. Then what does... Marcus considered the question. He thought about Angela, what she would say, what she would want him to do. Change hearts, one at a time. There's a community center in the Bronx, he said slowly. It serves low-income families, a lot of black families, Hispanic families, the kind of people you've spent your whole life looking down on. Helen stiffened. They need volunteers. People to help with after-school programs. People to mentor kids who are growing up like you grew up, poor and angry and looking for someone to blame. You want me to... Volunteer. I want you to learn. I want you to spend time with the people you've been taught to hate and discover that they're just people. Parents trying to raise their kids. Children trying to find their way. Human beings who deserve the same respect you gave to Richard Wells and his Patek Philippe. And if I do this, then maybe in a year or two you'll understand what you did wrong. Not just intellectually, not just because you got caught, but actually understand in your heart why it mattered. Will that make a difference to my lawsuit, to my future? No, the lawsuit is dead regardless. Your future is whatever you make of it. This isn't a deal, Helen. It's a choice. You can spend the rest of your life bitter and broken blaming everyone else for what happened to you. Or you can try to become someone worth respecting. Helen sat in silence for a long time. Finally, she stood up. I'll think about it. That's all I can ask. She walked to the door, stopped, turned back. Your daughter, she said. Lily. Is she okay? Marcus's jaw tightened. She has nightmares now. She wakes up crying asking if the mean lady is going to come back. She doesn't want to fly anymore. She's 6 years old and she's afraid of airplanes because of you. Helen flinched like she'd been struck. I'm sorry. I know you are, but sorry doesn't fix her nightmares. Helen nodded. She opened the door and walked out. Marcus never saw her again. 6 months later, Marcus was on another Skyline Airlines flight. Same route. New York to London. First class. Seats 1A and 1B. This time, everything was different. Lily sat beside him, her face pressed against the window, watching the ground fall away beneath them. She was clutching a new stuffed elephant that Marcus had bought her to replace the one she'd lost somewhere in the chaos of that December night. Daddy, look, the buildings are tiny. They're not tiny, baby. We're just really high up. How high? About 30,000 feet. That's a lot of feet. It is. She turned to him, her eyes wide with excitement. The fear that had haunted her for months was finally fading, replaced by the wonder that children are supposed to feel when they fly. Are we going to London for real this time? For real this time. With Big Ben. With Big Ben. And ice skating. And ice skating. And pancakes. They don't really do pancakes in London, baby. Then what do they eat? Fish and chips, scones, something called a full English breakfast. What's a full English breakfast? Eggs and bacon and beans and toast and mushrooms and tomatoes. Lily made a face. That's a lot of food. It is. Can I just have the bacon part? You can have whatever you want. She smiled at him, the same smile her mother used to have, the one that made everything else disappear. A flight attendant approached. Marcus tensed automatically, then relaxed when he saw who it was. Emma. She looked different than she had 6 months ago. Stronger, more confident. Her uniform was crisp and there was a gold star next to her name tag indicating top customer satisfaction scores. Mr. Thompson? Miss Lily. Emma smiled warmly. Welcome aboard. Can I offer you something to drink before takeoff? Champagne for me, Marcus said. And apple juice for the little one. Of course, coming right up. She returned a moment later with a crystal glass for Marcus and a small cup with a lid for Lily, decorated with cartoon airplanes. Is this cup just for me? Lily asked, eyes wide. Just for you, Emma said. We have special cups for our special young passengers. Lily beamed. Emma caught Marcus's eye. Thank you, she said quietly, for giving me another chance. You earned it. I try to remember every day what you said on the plane about being the person I wanted to be when I took this job. And who is that person? Someone who sees people, not clothes, not skin, just people. Marcus raised his glass slightly. Then you've learned the lesson. Emma nodded. She moved on to the other passengers, treating each one with the same warmth and respect. Marcus leaned back in his seat. So much had changed in 6 months. The training programs he'd implemented were working. Discrimination complaints had dropped by 80%. Customer satisfaction scores were at an all-time high. The airline, once bleeding money and reputation, was now being held up as a model of corporate accountability. Derek Miller had disappeared from public life. Last anyone heard, he was working at a warehouse in New Jersey loading boxes on the night shift. His social media accounts had been deleted. The man who once held power over thousands of passengers was now invisible, forgotten, irrelevant. Richard Wells had settled out of court. He'd paid a significant sum to a civil rights organization in exchange for Marcus dropping any potential defamation claims. His career was over. His marriage was over. His reputation was over. He'd sold the Westchester house and moved to a small condo in Florida where nobody knew his face and nobody cared about his Patek Philippe. And Helen Crane. She had taken Marcus's suggestion. Not immediately. It had taken her 2 months to work up the courage, but eventually she'd walked into that community center in the Bronx and asked how she could help. Marcus knew this because Victoria Santos had kept tabs on her, not out of vengeance but out of curiosity. What happened to someone like Helen when their whole world collapsed? According to Victoria, Helen had started small, serving food, cleaning tables, doing the work that nobody else wanted to do. She kept her head down, didn't talk about her past, didn't try to explain or justify. Slowly, the people at the center had accepted her, not as a friend exactly, but as someone who showed up, someone who did the work, someone who maybe was trying to change. Whether she actually changed, Marcus didn't know. Maybe she was just going through the motions. Maybe she was just looking for redemption she didn't deserve. But at least she was there. At least she was trying. That had to count for something. Daddy. Yes, baby. Can I ask you a question? Always. Lily hesitated. Her small face was serious, thoughtful. Why were those people mean to us on the other plane? Marcus had been waiting for this question. He'd practiced answers in his head 100 times. But now that it was here, all his practiced words seemed inadequate. Some people, he said carefully, are afraid of things they don't understand. And when people are afraid, they sometimes do mean things. What were they afraid of? They were afraid of us being different. They looked at us and saw something they didn't expect. And instead of being curious or kind, they got scared and angry. Lily thought about this. But we weren't doing anything scary. No, baby, we weren't. So why did they think we were? Because sometimes people see what they expect to see, not what's actually there. They expected that someone who looked like me, dressed like me, wouldn't be in first class. And when I was there anyway, they couldn't accept it. That's dumb. Marcus almost laughed. Yes, baby, it is. Are there going to be more mean people? Probably. The world isn't perfect. There will always be people who judge others for how they look or where they come from. That makes me sad. Me too. So what do we do? Marcus looked at his daughter, 6 years old, already asking the questions that grown-ups spent their whole lives trying to answer. We keep going, he said. We don't let them stop us. We don't let them make us smaller or angrier or meaner. We stay who we are. We treat people the way we want to be treated. And when we have the power to change things, we change them. Like you did with the airline. Like I did with the airline. Lily nodded solemnly. Then her face brightened. Daddy. Yes. I'm glad you're my daddy. Marcus felt his eyes sting. I'm glad you're my daughter. Mommy would be proud of you. The words hit him like a wave. He hadn't expected them, hadn't prepared for them. You think so? She always said you were the bravest person she knew. She said that when other people ran away from hard things, you ran toward them. She said that all the time. When you were at work and I was sad because you weren't home, she would tell me stories about you, about all the hard things you did, and she would say, Your daddy is out there making the world better for you. That's why he works so hard, because he wants you to have everything." Marcus couldn't speak. The tears were falling now, silent and unstoppable. Lily reached over and took his hand, her small fingers wrapped around his. "Don't cry, Daddy. Mommy wouldn't want you to cry. These are happy tears, baby. There's no such thing as happy tears. There is. When you're so happy that your heart can't hold it all, it spills out through your eyes." Lily considered this. "That sounds messy." Marcus laughed, a real laugh, full and warm and alive. "It is messy, but it's the best kind of mess." The plane reached cruising altitude. The seatbelt sign turned off. Outside the window, the clouds stretched endlessly white and pure and beautiful. Marcus looked at his daughter. She was already falling asleep, her hand still wrapped around his, her breath slowing to the steady rhythm of peace. He thought about Angela, about all the dreams they'd shared, about the future they'd planned before cancer stole it away. She would have loved this moment. Watching their daughter fly across the ocean unafraid, unjaded, still believing that the world could be good. And maybe that was the real victory. Not the firings, not the policy changes, not the press conferences, or the stock price, or the public vindication. The real victory was this: a little girl who had seen the worst of humanity and still believed in the best. A father who had been broken by grief and rebuilt himself into something stronger. A family incomplete but undefeated, flying toward a future they would build together. 3 months after the London trip, Marcus stood in front of the Skyline Airlines board of directors. He was presenting the annual report, the first full year under his leadership. "Discrimination complaints are down 83%, he said. "Customer satisfaction is at an all-time high. Revenue is up 12%. Employee retention has improved across all divisions." The board members nodded approvingly. Charts and graphs flickered on the screen behind him. "But those aren't the numbers I care about." He clicked to the next slide. "This year we hired 47 new flight attendants from underrepresented communities. 47 people who might never have gotten a chance in the old Skyline. 47 people who now have careers, benefits, and futures they can believe in." Another click. "We partnered with 12 civil rights organizations to create scholarship programs for aspiring pilots and aviation professionals. 84 young people received funding this year. 84 young people who will someday fly planes, manage airports, and run airlines." Another click. "We established an anonymous reporting system for discrimination. In the first month, we received 217 reports. Not because discrimination increased, but because people finally felt safe enough to speak up. Each report was investigated. 31 employees were terminated. 94 received additional training. The rest were unfounded, but every single one was taken seriously." He turned off the projector. "I didn't buy this airline to make money. I bought it because I believed it could be better. Because I believed that the way we travel says something about who we are as a society. And I believed that if we demanded dignity and respect at 30,000 feet, maybe it would spread to the ground." He looked at each board member in turn. "We have more work to do. We always will. But I'm proud of what we've built. I'm proud of the people who believed in this vision and fought for it. And I'm proud to lead a company that treats every passenger like they own the place." He paused. "Because you never know. They might. The meeting ended. The board members filed out, shaking his hand, offering congratulations. Victoria Santos stayed behind. "That was good," she said. "Inspirational." "I meant every word." "I know you did. That's why it worked." Marcus gathered his papers. "What's next?" "You have a call with the pilots' union in an hour, then a meeting with marketing about the rebrand, then dinner with Lily at 7. "Cancel the marketing meeting." "Marcus." "I promised her I'd be home by 6 tonight. We're making cookies." Victoria smiled. "Chocolate chip. Peanut butter. Her favorite. Her mother's recipe." Victoria nodded. I'll reschedule marketing for tomorrow. Thank you. Marcus walked to the elevator. He pressed the button and waited. Marcus. He turned. Victoria was still standing in the conference room doorway. You did good, she said. Angela would be proud. He didn't know how to respond, so he just nodded. The elevator arrived. He stepped inside. As the doors closed, he pulled out his phone. One new message from Lily. Daddy, don't forget the peanut butter. The chunky kind, not the smooth kind. The smooth kind is gross. He smiled and typed back. Chunky kind. Got it. See you at 6. Can we watch a movie too? What movie? The one with the flying elephant. Dumbo. Yeah. He's like you, Daddy. He's different, but he can fly higher than everyone. Marcus stared at the message for a long moment. Then he typed back. I love you, baby. I love you too, Daddy. Now hurry up. The peanut butter isn't going to buy itself. The elevator reached the lobby. Marcus stepped out into the afternoon sun. He had a company to run, a legacy to build, a world to change. But first, he had to buy peanut butter. The chunky kind. Because some things mattered more than all the rest. And that was the truth Marcus Thompson had learned in the skies above the Atlantic, at 30,000 feet, in a worn college hoodie, with his daughter sleeping on his shoulder. You could own an airline. You could fire every bigot who crossed your path. You could change policies and training programs and the very culture of an industry. But at the end of the day, what mattered most was coming home. Making cookies, watching movies about flying elephants, being present for the people who loved you exactly as you were. Helen Crane had spent 18 years climbing a ladder that led nowhere. Richard Wells had spent his whole life collecting status symbols that meant nothing. Derek Miller had spent his days tearing others down to feel bigger himself. And none of them had found what Marcus had found. Peace. Purpose. A little girl who thought he could fly higher than everyone. That was the victory. That was the only victory that mattered. And as Marcus Thompson walked out of the Skyline Airlines building and into the New York afternoon, he wasn't thinking about stock prices or board meetings or the empire he was building. He was thinking about peanut butter cookies and a 6-year-old girl who believed in him. He was thinking about a wife who had loved him, and a daughter who needed him, and a life that was more than private jets and corner offices. He was thinking about the moment on that plane when Lily had asked why people were mean, and he hadn't had a good answer. But maybe the answer wasn't something you said. Maybe the answer was something you did. You showed up. You stayed present. You loved fiercely and forgave carefully and fought for what was right. You built something worth passing on. And when the world tried to tear you down, when the Helens and Dereks and Richards tried to make you feel small, you remembered the truth. Character is the only currency that matters. And Marcus Thompson, the man in the hoodie, the father of a fearless girl, the owner of an airline, and the architect of justice at 30,000 feet, had more of it than all of them combined. That was the lesson. That was the legacy. That was the story of how one night of cruelty became a lifetime of change. And it started with a simple decision that anyone could make. To see people. To respect people. To treat every human being like they mattered. Because they did. Every single one.